Welcome to the Good Rookies podcast. My name is Faheem.
My name is Nelly J, and we are Good Rookies. Welcome, everyone, to our episode number two. We're so excited, y'all. Thanks for joining us today.
Number two, we have some special guests in the house tonight. We have Funda. He's definitely been a friend of the podcast, been with us before, and we're definitely privileged to have him back again. So once again, we have Funda. Funda. So Funda, we have you've been doing the CEBL basketball. You're doing some things this summer. Why don't you just tell the people about what you've been getting into this summer?
Yeah, so I had the privilege of being one of the few coaches that were able to actually coach in a basketball league this summer, the CEBL, which is the Canadian Elite Basketball League. It's in partnership with Canada Basketball. So I was assistant coach with the Hamilton Honey Badgers, and I'm also skill development, player development trainer with Canada Basketball.
Nice.
Wow. Nice. And that's Team Canada, right? You work with?
Yeah, so it's a senior men's national team. So it's pretty much all the top Canadian players, and not only just the pro guys, but also all the different age groups. So it could be senior men's, 19 and under, 17 under, 16 and under. So all those different age groups, and also the junior academy. Unfortunately, we didn't get to have all of that this year, but it is something that I guess we're trying to figure out going forward with all this COVID-19 going on.
Right. Well, it's going to be great to have your input. Next up, we have Jason. You're a sports agent, and you've been getting into some things also. Why don't you tell us about what you've been getting into?
Appreciate you guys having me on today. I'm Jason Knight. I'm a sports agent at Knight Sports Management. So I started this company about 2 years ago. It's always been a passion and dream of mine. So I'm just thankful that God gave me the opportunity to actually do it.
Nice.
Awesome. That's awesome. So guys, typically we ask our guests a little question so they can understand a little bit more about you. My question today will be a different kind of question. We would like to know, okay, what is your most memorable sporting experience? It could be a memorable championship game. It could be an event you attended. Just give us what are your top memorable sporting experience you've ever had in your life. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
So my most memorable sporting experience was my first year in university when we won the championship. It was my first, I guess, actual championship, being a part of like an actual team that practiced for months and months on end, and all the sacrifice that we put in. So for me, that was the most memorable, and it's crazy that it was the most memorable because I didn't even play in the second half. Like I only played the first half, like maybe 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But like I still felt very involved in the game. So even that just stands out in my mind, and I try to let my guys know that whenever I'm coaching, like even though you may not be one of the main guys or you're the 11th to 12th guy, if you're still engaged in the game and being a good teammate, it'll feel just as good. So that was actually my most memorable one, and we actually won 4, but that one was the most memorable one.
Wow, that's dope. Jason, what about you, man?
I got a bunch, but for me, the biggest one was Robert Horry. So I'm a Sacramento Kings fan. So that was back in the Arco Arena, Stojakovic, Divac, Bibby, Bobby Jackson. We're playing the Lakers, and I think it was Divac hit the ball out. And I thought there'd be nobody at the top of the key. And Horry's chilling. Gets the ball, I'm like, what are you even doing out there? And hits the 3, and my heart literally just dropped. I remember I went in the shower, I cried. I went to school the next morning, everybody's making fun of me.
Fun is like I was there.
yeah, for sure. It was definitely one of the darkest times of my life. But I mean, that's what sports is all about, right? So I mean, you win some, you lose some. That one still bothers me to today.
Laugh now, cry later, man. That's a real thing. I know. Well, guys, that was some amazing moments that you shared with us.
Mm.
And now we're going to get into our next segment, Zoned In, Zoned Out.
Yeah, so let's get to zoned in, zoned out. Real quick, as you guys may have heard, Nate McMIllan, the coach of the Indiana Pacers, just got fired. Are you zoned in on the firing or zoned out with the firing? I'll start with you, Nelly J.
I mean, I heard you were fired and I was like, bye.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. I mean, yeah, like I think this past week there's been quite a few firing of coaches. Philly, right? Indiana. I just think that there's a different type of temperament for coaches that do not look like a certain type of brand, in a sense, you know. I feel like there's so many like smart, intelligent coaches that I think that are people of color that should get these type of opportunities. And we see other coaches getting, you know, multiple chances at the chance, but sometimes, you know, people of color, we get more, you know, critical when it comes to coaching. So I was kind of, not zoned out. I was kind of like, whatever, this is not, like, I wasn't shocked. I just feel that, you know, in the bubble, you can't really test a coach's ability because it is a different mindset, a different type of game. And firing someone after a bubble, I get it, they didn't play as well, but it's a different experience. Like, we've seen good players like PG say mental health has been a huge problem in the bubble, and it hasn't been addressed by the NBA. So I just think that having a coach being fired after a bubble series is kind of, it's not, I don't think it's fair. I think he should have gotten another chance to go at it with the team, but that's just my opinion.
Jason.
I'd piggyback off what Nelly just said. I mean, it's hard to fire somebody when 2 weeks prior you gave an extension. Every playoff series, past years, he never had his best players available. And even from the GM actually said 2 weeks ago that what Nate McMillan has done in 4 seasons with our franchise merits this extension. Between injuries and changes in personnel, he and his coaching staff have adapted and produced positive results. So, I mean, like, you said that 2 weeks ago. I mean, the only thing that we did in the past 2 weeks was lose, but I mean, we didn't have all our people. I mean, it's hard to judge, but at the same time, I get it. Like, maybe in those past 2 weeks, some that you actually been wanting for a long time became available, which you may not have accounted for prior. So, I mean, I understand both sides of it. It sucks, but I mean, sometimes that's just the way the game goes. So, it is.
Funda?
I'm zoned out, man. Like, this stuff is annoying to me. And I actually was just having this conversation a few days ago where, you know, Brett Brown, to me, I don't know if maybe, you know, he's a better coach than what he's been able to show, but I feel like he's gotten those chances and, you know, probably could have gotten fired maybe last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had his whole team last year, and you know they lost to the Raptors. I mean, I was happy about that, but now this year, last year Nate McMillan didn't have Victor Oladipo. Like, this year he doesn't have Sabonis. You just signed an extension, and then you fire him because he gets swept. Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel like if this was reverse roles, if this was Brett Brown in Indiana, he'd probably get another chance. Just like, you know, he got another chance in Philly. He got multiple chances in Philly. Now, a friend of mine, his argument was, hey, this can't be a black and white thing because the GM is black. And I still disagree. Because,
no, me too.
Right. So, because, like, there's other influences that the GM has to answer to and listen to. I don't think there's as many advocates for black coaches as there are for white coaches. This coach that's a white coach could have a relationship with the owner or whoever else it is. But there's other agents and owners that influence the GM. They use their power. They say, hey, I have this player and I'm the agent of this coach. So if you keep this coach, my player is not resigning. Like, they use all these kind of things, and it's systemic racism, like, all over again. And I just feel like Nate McMillan should have at least gotten a chance with his actual team. Like, he didn't get a chance with his star players. It's different if it's like, I don't know, like one of the Holiday brothers or somebody is injured. But come on, like Sabonis is a huge piece to their team, and
No,
Right.
like he is the major piece
But,
to their team.
but
Right.
what happens if he never has a healthy team? Are we going to keep extending him because he's never had a full team? Like, at what point do we cut our losses and move on?
Well, you have to judge him based on the team that's on the floor. And the team that was on the floor, nobody expected to win. If anybody expected to win, then they should be fired too.
Mhm.
Because Miami is actually a really good team.
So I understand the role that race possibly could play because he's a black coach that got fired. I just want to hit it from a different angle. If you look at last year, Dwayne Casey won Coach of the Year, being a black coach, and he was fired after being Coach of the Year, right?
But keep in mind, though,
Oh,
he had multiple chances.
Let me hold on.
Okay.
So Dwayne Casey was fired after being Coach of the Year, and at that time it would be unpopular to someone who wins Coach of the Year get fired. But we have to look at management and the reputation that management, the GM makes. Ujiri at the time would have been, people thought it was it's not a popular move, but Ujiri had the vision to see someone else coming in, and look what that brought him, right? So I'm looking at Indiana's GM, and I'm looking at the moves he's made. So he had Paul George. He had an unhappy Paul George. He got rid of Paul George, and then he flipped Paul George with Victor Oladipo and Sabonis. So he got rid of Paul George. He ended up with a future All-Star and a future Most Improved Player on his watch. Okay. He had TJ Warren. He got him from Phoenix for cash considerations. So we're talking about a GM who's clearly competent and knows what he's doing. So my thing is, I think this conversation we're having might be a year premature. What we'd have to do is wait till next year, because who knows if Indiana's assistant coach, the same way Dwayne Casey had Nick Nurse, maybe this GM sees, you know what, Nick's had his opportunity. We're thankful for what Nick did, but there's someone else I think can get us over the hump. And I think that this GM, he clearly has something. I'm not going to blame it solely, and I get how race could be seen with this, but he's made moves that made me say, you know what, let me see what his next move is first before throwing that card out.
But he
I mean,
just
that's
signed
fair.
it 2 weeks ago.
What was that, Funda?
He just signed the extension 2 weeks ago, though. Like,
That's my issue that I have with the situation, is that it isn't like, you know, the GM was like, oh, he actually likes Nate. I think he likes him, Nate. I think
I'm saying that's what goes to my point. Maybe something must have changed the past 2 weeks.
exactly. My thing is not basketball. This can't be about basketball, and because I think Nate did very well for what he has been given. I think something happened in between the last 2 weeks. Maybe during, because I know, especially if you know that, right? In playoff games, coaches and GMs get into little fights after games, especially if they lost. The GMs will say, hey, do this, do that. And who knows what could have happened in between the games in the bubble. Maybe they disagreed on tactics, on situations, and so forth that caused him to say fire Nate. But again, I can't say, oh, he did it because of race. I'm not saying, but my assumption is that something may have happened between the extension and then their loss in the first round. Because it's just weird to me. This is
business, right? We look at what Ujiri did to DeMar DeRozan. Apparently, he had a conversation with DeMar DeRozan shortly before he ended up shipping him from Kawhi. Things are fluid in this business, right? So,
yeah, but I think those are different scenarios. I think Masai was clearly able to see over a number of years with the Raptors' full strength team that they weren't good enough. I think we all knew that they weren't good enough.
Right.
And I think we all knew and could see that the players weren't really vibing that well with Dwayne Casey anymore. Like, to me, that's warranted. I know he got Coach of the Year. That's because it's a regular season award. He wasn't judged based on the regular season. He was judged on the playoffs. I think Nate McMIllan is in a different scenario where he did not have his full strength team.
Right. No, I agree.
But again, like, I guess being someone who's also, you know, in locker rooms, a lot of things happen in there that we don't hear about as a public. And So maybe there is something deeper.
Something
But
doesn't happen because I'm like, how can he extend a contract extension? Like, so Masai never told DeRozan, hey, here's a contract extension, and then traded him. He was like, yeah, I want to keep you here. But then he got a Kawhi call from Pop. So of course he changed his mind. So my thing is that, like Faheem said, right? It could be something could have happened where a coach that he wanted will be available. Who knows? But anything could have happened. All I'm saying is that, like, I guess for me, it's not just about Nate. It's the bigger picture. Black coaches in every major league sports always get more critical. Like Ewing, like I think Chauncey, like we've so many smart, ball-minded people that could be coaches but aren't due to different systemic issues. And yes, maybe Nate isn't that one example, but it happens all the time. So I think it was a trigger to see, like, okay, so you let him go, but why? Like, and maybe you're right for him. Maybe in the future they will let us know. You know,
I think Faheem hit it on the nail on the head. I think we have to wait a year to actually see the full context of this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe in a year we could look back like, okay, that was smart what he did. So
Right.
we'll just wait and see what happens.
All right.
at least he got his money.
Yeah.
Right. Right. That's right.
Facts. So question for you guys, Faheem, which team do you think would want Nate now that he's gone?
None.
Pardon me?
I say none. Like, I don't see why. Like, what has he shown while bringing him to my team?
But like you said that, like, he never had a full team ever. So you think he might get a coaching job in the NBA, or he's done for a while?
I think he could be considered for the Pelicans job.
I
don't think so either.
You said no.
I think the Pelicans, think about this. They have Zion, they have like Lonzo, they have Ingram. Like they're a young team on the rise. They want someone who's established more than Nate McMillan. And that's not a shot at Nate McMillan, but I think they're going for the stars. I don't think they're just going for like Nate McMillan.
Yeah, but I think also the difference is those top coaches that they're going to want to get aren't going to want to go there either.
You think? You don't think they want to coach Zion Williamson the next? You don't think so?
I don't think they'd want to coach him either.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's overrated.
He's overrated. He's overweight. I mean, there's tons of reasons.
That's a situation where it's like you're set up to fail. Like, I don't think Tyronn Lue is taking that job.
I hope he doesn't.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And that's just. I mean, there's a possibility that maybe he does if he still has the relationship with the GM over there. But
okay,
I think Zion is like an exciting player to watch.
Right.
But do I think he's like gonna be the best player on a championship team ever? No,
I don't think so.
No, and I'm with you.
I agree with that.
So Funda, with the CEBL. So there's two leagues right now in Canada. There's the NBL of Canada, National Basketball League of Canada, and then there's the CEBL, Canadian Elite Basketball League. Okay. One runs on the same calendar year as the NBA, correct? Which is the NBL Canada.
Yeah.
And then the league you coach in is the CEBL. They are a summer league, right?
Right.
Which I think is very smart, opposed to competing. Tell us a little bit about your experience with the CEBL right now.
Well, man, the CEBL was the most fun I had coaching, like ever.
Wow.
I think it's run at a very professional level and a very high level of talent.
Okay.
So when we think of the players that play for the national team, or the pros that are Canadian that aren't in the NBA, we think of them playing in Spain, Italy. Those players play in
so they all play in the CEBL like in the summertime.
Right. So maybe not all of them, but a good majority of them played. Tommy Scrub, he's a high level player overseas. Like Phil Scrub, his brother, they play in the top league, ACB in Spain. Right? So it's all of these Canadians, all the top Canadians, or the majority of the top ones, that all played here in this league, and then we have 2 American imports per team. So even on our team, we had Breonte Weber. He's a guy who, I don't know if you guys remember those VCU teams that were crazy with Shaka Smart, and they would be pressing. Like, he was the one at the front of the press. He's actually probably the best on-ball defender like I've ever seen in person.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah, and he's played about 40 games in the NBA. He has a G League championship. So these are the guys who are actually playing in the league. So I thought it was great. It's run at a high level, and it was fun because we're in a little bubble over there in St. Catharines, and we were still able to play. And we actually introduced the ELAM rule. So we're the only FIBA league that has the ELAM rule, just like a TBT tournament. And
well, explain quickly the ELAM rule. That's the one that they used at the All-Star game, right?
Yeah. So the way they did it at the All-Star game was they did it for a whole quarter where, whatever was the higher score, you add 24 points. The way we did it in our league was, so once you get to under 4 minutes, once the first whistle in the last 4 minutes of the game, so the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, now it becomes ELAM time. So let's say, for instance, we have 90 points. The other team has 80 points. You add on another 9 points. So that's your target score. So your target score would now be 99. So it actually made it very different coaching-wise, because there's not much you can really look at. Like, you got to just figure it out. Right. It's almost like when you're having runs and it's like, all right, we're playing to 9, right? So
exactly. It's more exciting.
It was exciting. Like, I enjoyed it tremendously, and pretty much every team that was down would win the ELAM time, because it's almost like when you're up, you feel that pressure of like, oh man, I got to score 9 points, and some dumb stuff. We lost in the semis.
We lost one,
yeah.
We lost in the semis. We needed 3 more points, and we had 3 tough possessions, and ended up losing the game by 1.
I liked your league, sorry, because a lot of times Canadians are shipped overseas or to the States for competitive leagues, and I like the fact that we're showcasing our talent in-house these days. So to give us another platform where Canadian players could stay home, show their talent, and more importantly, the league didn't look like a Canadian league. Like, it didn't look like the old broadcasting. It looked good. The halftime was good. The commentary was good. Like, they actually put time and money into it, which is rare for Canadian sports. So I think Canada try to turn the tide and say, guys, we're actually more than a hockey country, and we need to start showing the world what we can actually do. So I love the league.
Sounds great. My only thing is, I think there's a possible opportunity missed with the NCAA. It's no longer a first option. It's an option, but now there's other options where people can go overseas and play, etc. I would just like Canada to have our leagues be an option, so people don't have to think to go overseas. They can actually play here. They can have their their scouts from the United States come check them here and kind of integrate into what's happening. Now, I know it's hard for the CEBL to do that just because of the fact that in regards to the calendar, they're not playing at the same time as the league, but that could be, or actually maybe I should ask you, Funda, are players looking at this as a way to showcase them too during the off season, showcase their skill to get noticed?
Yeah, 100%. I think, and I think the way they have it set up is actually perfect, because it's different when you're overseas, like in Italy or Spain, Sweden, wherever it is that you want to talk about. They don't have an NBA team, right? It's not North America. Over here, like, the NBA is such heavy competition that it doesn't make sense trying to compete with it. And even the NCAA, trying to compete with the NCAA, I could probably count on my hand how many people I know outside of just the real basketball junkies that have been to Canadian University basketball game. like gone to a Ryerson versus York or Carleton versus Ryerson. Like, we don't do that over here. So why compete with it?
Right.
Why not have it during the summer? And then it actually makes it better for some of the guys, because at least here with Hamilton, what we try to enforce is like, okay, this is more of like skill development and showcase for you. So we're gonna help you get better, and showcase this to the other teams so that, yeah, you can get a better contract overseas. Once, you know, our league is looked at as credible, which I think it is because it has good enough players, and you get paid, right? Like you're getting your pay overseas during the regular season, and then, you know, you play your next 20 games throughout the summer, and you get paid like again, right? So
Yeah, no, it's dope. Honestly, like, I think, like what Funda said, the summertime is perfect because it gives players the chance to showcase their talent in Canada, but also, I think in Canada, it's hard to compete with NBA and NHL. Remember, it's the same time of year, and then to have the NBL. Like, the NBL, unfortunately, it's competing against the NHL, MLS sometimes, and NBA. It's just...
I've never watched a game of the NBA before.
Yeah, it's hard. That's why I think the summer league, the summertime is perfect to showcase. And also, at least it keeps our athletes in Canada come back home. It might help our Team Canada when it comes to having players play for the country. It's try to keep us in the conversation of basketball. But hopefully, you know, I think it will change once we get more sponsors, and hopefully, like, the summer league can be on like TSN and other like bigger channels. I think
Definitely a start.
Yeah, I think that'll be great if it can go on those sites, because I think TSN, Sportsnet, I think if more people can see the games, it'll get even more popular, right?
Right.
You know what I think helped was COVID. I mean, this is a time when nothing's on TV. So now
Yeah.
the fact that we have Canadian players playing in Canada during a time where there's no sports, the only thing I can look forward to is watching this league. So I think that now that they have the interest of a lot of players and a lot of spectators as well, so next year they can almost ride that train and grow the league next year.
Mm-hmm.
and one last thing, it actually was on CBC.
CBC Sports and CBC
Yes.
GMAC.
Yeah. So I mean, I know it's not like it's not one of the sports. It's not one of the sports.
It's a good start though.
Well, hey,
Right.
I mean, like, CBC does hockey. They have hockey games. They even have Olympics. So it's still something, right? Because I think CBC is on every channel, like at every TV. So
And on basic cable as well.
And
yeah,
they
exactly.
had actual like.
Who has cable anymore, though? Who has cable? we off that. All right, y'all. So thanks so much, guys. Zone in, Zone Out was awesome. Our next segment is for the culture, and we're about to get a little bit serious, you guys, because this segment is going to talk about what has been happening. For those who don't know, a few days ago, there was a gentleman named Jacob Blake that was in the car with his kids, 3 kids. He stopped the car to help with a dispute between 2 women. He got involved, helped stop the fight. I guess someone called the cops because they heard all the yelling, They called the cops not knowing that he was just trying to like stop the fighting. When the cops came, no one knows really what happened because the cops in that county doesn't have any cameras. All they have is audio. So what they saw in the video that has been, of course, been shared to everyone, you see him walking away, going back to his car, and the cops are trying to stop him from getting to his car, but he had kids in the car, so we don't know what was said between that time, but we saw the cops trying to stop him, and then he got shot seven times, not 1, 7 times. And you know, beginning of the NBA, Kyrie Irving was very adamant, saying that playing in the NBA with this unrest of racism issues, he said it would be a problem. And he did not play because of this, right? Well, he couldn't play, but because of that issue. And some players were also saying they were going to play. So now that it has happened, as you guys saw in the NBA and in other leagues, players are boycotting, and the NBA decided to cancel all the games today. So I want to get your thoughts on this. You know, like, do you think the NBA should have came back? Are you happy they came back? Like, what's your thoughts on that they're boycotting? Do you think we'll even continue after this? Like, like the players were saying, mental health, it kind of messed them up, seeing someone that looked like them, a black man with kids, getting shot 7 times, right? And had no weapon, was not like the weapon, back was face to the cop, shot 7 times. So what's your thoughts on the entire situation? And what's your feedback when it comes to the boycotts? Do you think it's effective or not effective?
Let me go first, Wanda. I feel it's going to be very interesting to see what the next steps are, because now that this happened, we're almost back to ground zero. So going into the bubble, this big social reform was being talked about, then they started playing. Then nothing happened, and then they're playing, now this happened, and now they're saying, let's boycott. I mean, this is something that maybe we should consider prior to going to the bubble. So now that we're back at ground zero, we can't do the same thing over and over again. So to say we're going to boycott and not play, well, we should have done that before you came to the bubble. Like, what changed now? So I want to see what the next steps are. Who's going to take the lead? So, I mean, now Kyrie looked like a genius by saying what he said. So it's going to be, I don't know if I was an athlete in the bubble, what I would do personally, because now I'm torn. Like, I came here to, whether it's to get money or whatever case it be, and now that we're all taking our steps back, I can't start playing again, because then I just look like I'm doing the same things over and over, and a lot of people will lose interest in what I'm saying.
Well,
Funda.
I think maybe I'm thinking about it a little bit differently, where I think it's going to have more of an impact that they're actually there in the bubble. Everybody planned for them to play. Everybody's watching the games already. It's the actual playoffs. And then it's like, no, I'm not playing. Like, I'm shutting it down. Like, this is foolishness. I think that will have more of an impact than it not even starting back in the first place. I think we were kind of getting used to like no sports and things like that. I think this is a bit more of like a shock to everyone, and you know, everybody else is following suit. But I don't have the right words for this situation. Like, it's frustrating. It's yeah, it's just I don't really know what. Yeah, it's hard to deal with. And I mean, I think they'll end up playing again, and just continue to try and use their voice, because what else can you really do, right? Like, you can't change
the contract. The players didn't really agree to it. Like, can they really pull out of this, like, the contract with the NBA and the owners and the players?
Yeah, like, but it goes back to what I was saying before. Like, let's say we start playing again, something happens. Do we boycott again for another 3 days and then start playing again? Like, after a while, you're not really doing anything. You're just saying, okay, well, they're going to boycott for 3 days, they'll be back. And then after a while, people don't care what we're doing anymore.
And it's funny because I think a player, Faheem, I forgot his name, but a player that plays professional football in Europe, and he said that a lot of African players don't get respect in Europe. So he's like, why not start our own league with African owners and African players?
Mario Balotelli.
Yes, and he was saying, you know, how about we do our own league, because Africans, like the African junior development in Africa is so good. So he's like, why do we start our own league in Africa? And because the Euro Leagues are making so much money off of our talent, like you saw what happened with Bayern winning, right, Championship League, and it's like, why can't we just play in our countries, in our continent, and have all that money stay within our community, right?
So even touch on that. Sorry for cutting off, Igwe.
No problem.
A lot of times, like, he's been in Italy he's Italian, so he's been in Italy for countless years, and he's experienced racism every single game he's played.
Every day.
Locked off the field during the game. People throw bananas at him, call him Black Monkey. So, I mean, his frustration, I get it. But at the point, if you're not leaving, people just don't take you serious anymore.
Right.
Yes.
Even though you complain, say, you know, this is racist, yada, yada, yada. But on the next day, you're back on the same uniform, playing for the same people, playing for the same fans. You're losing your power. Like, you have to take a stand at some point.
Yeah, but then here's the other side of it. Once you go away, you just get replaced by somebody else.
Also, and plus to me, like, the money you make playing can be kind of funneled. Because I know a lot of players in the Euro Leagues, that money's funneled back to their home villages. Like you saw with Serge, he funnels money back to Congo to help his village. So I feel like it's like, you know what? We are in a very oppressed, like, systemic racial world. And it's like, as a Black person, sometimes we all take L's for the greater good, right? It's like, your boss is racist, but you're getting paid to do your job. So you stay in a company so that you can get money to leave at a better date, right? To walk off and just say, I quit, but you have no money, or like you have kids. It's easy. It's harder. It's very hard to walk away from a paycheck. We all saw this with the NBA. Players were like, yo, I want to get paid. Like, I need the money, right? So, and the NBA was started back because they wanted to get paid. But I think the biggest thing right now is that, you know, Kyrie, like you mentioned, what he said, he was right. It's hard to play when you're seeing what's happening to your people outside of the bubble, right? And even though, yes, I'm very happy that the NBA and the players are doing this boycott. I saw some comments saying, what's the point? Will this solve? I'm like, no, listen, the point is to show that, hey, Black people have power. Without us, there's no NBA. If we say there's no, so without us, NBA, sponsors,
sports.
everyone's done. So you need us. So because you need us, as endorsements, as owners, we need you guys to talk to your white friends that are racist and help and make and control them. You know what I'm saying? So that's my kind of, I guess, feedback is that the boycott, I think, was a good look because it's now saying, hey, without us, there's no NBA.
I just want to piggyback off what Jason just mentioned there. In regards to, if you look at COVID, even when COVID was first coming out, nobody was really to pull the plug yet. It wasn't until Rudy Gobert, he shut down world athletics.
Yes.
It was a domino effect. The NBA set a precedence and everyone had to follow. With this boycott now, it starts the NBA, baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers are doing it next. It's like NBA, very popular, trend-setting league. So by this boycott, you could see a domino effect over the next few days and weeks where things get shut down again because of this. And hopefully things progress in the direction that we want to go this time, you know?
So Faheem, your thoughts on Kyrie Irving, like looking back now, like, are you kind of like, you know what, he had a point? Or are you like?
So the first time Kyrie said it, I was pro Kyrie actually.
Okay.
During COVID, I didn't want the NBA to come back.
That's true. That's right. You did say that.
For what reason?
Actually, so the real reason was I didn't think the bubble was going to work. So I thought they're going to come in, someone's going to get COVID, you can't contain it, and they're going to stop the season again. And my whole outlook was, you know what, you have me already used to not having sports, so I don't want to, get attached and then have to cut it again. So, and that's, well, now I can rationalize why it's happened this time, because it's not because of COVID or something to do with that. It has to do with something socially, a social agenda. So I can get down with that this time for sure.
So question for you guys, because, I'm on social media and there's been a lot of comments saying that, so I'll be very frank. I think half of sports fans are racist, period. And that's across all sports. And this is why I'm saying this, okay? Not all, but half. Because if you look at a lot of these fans who are LeBron fans, diehard, like Kyrie fans, and that are white, a lot of them are like, they said that him getting shot, they're like, well, why did he resist it? That's his fault. Like, a lot of people, and again, racism doesn't mean that you hate Black people. I mean that you don't understand how a Black skin with a white cop, how some cops will assume the worst and shoot you because in their mind, your life doesn't matter. So I think we think of racism as, oh, they're calling us the N-word. No, it's beyond that. It's like saying things like, oh, well, the cops come to stop and he didn't stop. So yeah, he got shot. And it's like, bro, that's racist. Like, that's quite racist. And if you go on Bleacher Report, their fans are saying, oh, like, stop this boycotting. Why boycott? What's the point? Yo, all I care about is basketball. Forget this social stuff. Like, it's happening a lot. So this is my question, right? We look at racism as one thing, right? The N-word, KKK, and that's it. But it's people who are racist to the fact that they don't understand why the players are boycotting. They're like, what's your problem? Why boycott, guys? So I think we have to call out that kind of racial activity, because if we don't, they'll keep doing it, right? You cannot, someone with privilege as a white person, as a white fan, you have no clue what a Black person is going through. I'm sorry. I think you know, but you don't. Like, you have no understanding why LeBron, why Mitchell, why all these players are like traumatized by this video that went around, because this is not your skin color. So I think we have to really call out these fans and say, hey, if you support the NBA, respect the boycott, understand that this is trauma to a Black man, right? So what's your thoughts on fans not understanding the boycott is not about just not playing, it's about trauma. It's about seeing a black person getting shot in front of his kids. LeBron's a father. So these players are not looking at it as, oh, I'm boycotting because I want to stop racism. I'm boycotting because I'm tired of seeing the same shit over and over again. So like, what's your thoughts on the fans and not being empathetic towards the players?
I think those fans are idiots. Like, it's plain and simple. If you think that it's not important or that they shouldn't be fearing their lives, like there's actual like fear for your life because you're black. Like, that's crazy. So if you think that automatically like the cop is always in the right, then you're wrong and you're an idiot. And I mean, there's not much we could do about that in terms of them changing their mind, but that's what we're hoping that would happen from these boycotts, that they would be more aware, they would have the discussions a bit more, and maybe some of them might actually somehow change their thinking, but they're just ignorant. And I mean, like, hopefully they figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree. I think racism has always just been a lack of education and knowledge. So I think a lot of times people are racist because their experience hasn't forced them to go outside the comfort box.
Agreed.
So I think this would show, or at least open their eyes to there is a different world outside of what you grew up in. I can't fault you for the way you grew up. I'm just hoping that you could see my life and you could say, well, his life is a little different than mine. Let me see where he's coming from. If after that you still believe that your way is right, your way is the only way, then I have a problem with you. But I mean, just the initial person being racist, they sometimes feel they just know better. Like the parents taught them this, the grandparents taught them this. It's just the way of life to them. So I can't fault them for that. But I'm just hoping that my experience could show them a little different side of the story.
But also, it's ownership for those players to, the ownership for those fans to actually want to educate themselves. I think the issue is that these fans that are saying, oh, well, it's his fault he got shot. Oh, well, why are you boycotting? What's the point? I think some fans don't want to be educated, right? You know what I mean? So it's not our job to educate them. It's their freaking job. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, I just hope that we can just educate more of the sporting fans, that they understand that, you know, the boycott isn't about them. It's that the players needed a mental break from playing, and, you know, stuff like that is traumatic to these athletes. So let's try to be empathetic and give them, you know, the time to, you know what I mean, to take time off of this situation. So we'll go to the next segment. That's absurd. That's you, Faheem.
That's absurd. So as you may have heard, Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers called Luka Doncic a, quote, punk ass white boy.
Bitch ass white boy.
My bad. Quote unquote bitch ass white boy. Yes. Thoughts real quick on this, Jason?
I mean, I've said in the heat of the moment within the lines, I think I've said worse things with no harm intent. But in this culture, you got to think what you're saying before you say it. Right. I think if Luka called him a bitch ass black boy, I think the world would be on fire. So in light of that, I respect that Montrez actually apologized to him, because I guess he could see what he did was wrong. But I mean, that's a tough comment to say in this day and age, 2020.
Right. Honda?
Man, I've heard way worse things on the court before. Like, and this is just my opinion. It's not like he called him like I think it's different if like you're literally calling each other racial slurs. Like, you didn't call him.
So that's not a racial slur?
No, because if you actually look at it, maybe 2 plays later, when Seth Curry scored on Paul George, he called him a bitch ass nigga.
Right. Well, no, the difference though is Seth Curry can say that because it's a black man saying it to a black man.
But that can't justify it though.
By calling him a white boy, that's not racist.
Well, how is it not when you have some 2 people of 2 different races, and what's distinguishing you is the race? How, like, I don't understand that logic.
I mean, I think that happens all the time.
No,
and
right.
and
Because it happens doesn't mean it's right.
Previously, you're right, but it's different when your oppressor is constantly talking down to you, and then you are going at your oppressor in a certain way.
So,
And on top of that,
Sorry, Jason. So you're talking.
all the time. Hold on. This happens on the court all the time, where you literally go at people mentally just to try and break them down for the game, and then when the game is over, the game is over. So that's why he's able to go and apologize. Like you know how many times I've heard like death threats on the court, like actual death threats. You're not leaving this arena like without me going in my trunk. Like
So
that stuff happens all the time. I think it's just within the game, and then it's done. I don't think it's like something that's actual personal.
so you mentioned oppressor. Okay. Normally black people don't have the power to be the oppressor. In this situation, we have a league predominantly of maybe 80% black. Luka's the minority in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the oppressor calling him, as you quote unquote, a bitch ass white boy. That is racist. One. Two, hold on, one more. Also, let's flip it. So let's keep it relevant. The NHL, probably the same, 80 to 90% white. If you had a black player there and someone checks him against the boards and says, bitch ass black boy, what do you say to that? Are you going to say, oh, I hear that on the ice all the time? You probably do, because that's part of the culture, but it doesn't make it right.
So,
the NBA, I feel, had an opportunity. I feel the NBA had an opportunity. It was a learning opportunity for the NBA. The NBA probably should have minimum fined Montrezl Harrell
and come out with a statement.
And come out with a statement, and possibly even a suspension of even a game. That's on the extreme,
yeah.
right? But I'm saying something has to be done, and here's why I think something has to be done. You have kids watching that. It wasn't like something that was said in the locker room in the tunnel going out. It was live during the game, during the game on national television. So that makes it, what kind of message is that sending to those kids that, oh, well, you know, it's okay, because especially when there's no repercussions for that happening. Go ahead, Funda.
So yeah, I found out. I'll go after you.
Did you? Okay, I did. But did you watch the game and see and know that's what he said?
No one knew that.
No, you only knew once J. Will, the Uncle Tom, came and snitched.
Right. But social media, though, once a clip goes around, everybody's seen that.
Yeah. So
I think it was going on personally.
Yeah, like my approach to this is different. So the term white isn't a racial slur in any context. Actually, saying the term white shows power in historical data. Saying that you're white in any aspect on a resume, saying you're white when you're applying for jobs, saying white is not something that is like has been looked bad upon throughout centuries of life. The term calling black has been a pressed term to minimize someone's humanity. In America, they say a black person was 3/5. That was in the court, right? So there's a lot of historical aspect to black and white, right? That's just the historical aspect. So you're right, Faheem. The term white, it can be a slur depending on the person, right? But I think in the context of America's history, the term white has been something that they used for power in the past, right? Like
I agree with you, Nelly. Hold on, Faheem. I agree with you. But I'm saying in the context, you said bitch ass.
I know. So I'm getting to there. So now we're going back to the bubble, right? Like,
no, we're going to the instance. What happened?
Yes,
he
exactly.
Called him a bitch ass white boy.
Yes.
Is it okay for him to do so?
So now we're back in the instance, right? And me playing sports and hearing, like, if you've heard what Garnett has said to players, Michael, a lot of players, like Afana said, hey, go for the juggler. They say the things that will piss you off the most to throw you off your game, right?
Doesn't make it right though.
It's not right. It's not right. But I'm saying that that's a part. It's a part of sports, unfortunately. And before, like, players getting mic'd up, imagine what they're saying to Bird back in the day. Like, is that okay? I'm just saying that, like, in sports, it's a part of the sports culture. So I'm just happy that Charles said, you know what I did was not good, and he recognized himself to say sorry. But I think because of the first instance of it being, I guess publicized, the NBA was kind of like, whoa, how do we address someone saying this kind of content? Because I don't think the NBA kind of knew how to handle. Like, I think they were in shock. You know what I'm
And
saying?
they failed though, because they did nothing.
They were in
They-
shock.
that's what I'm saying.
I think the
That's what-
NBA was very lazy in this
They
situation.
were.
Yes.
Because I think, again, I don't think they've ever had to deal with that before. So
Right.
I'm hoping that like this will be a good lesson, and if it happens again, they'll add this to maybe their
You can't drop the ball like that in 2020 being the NBA.
Exactly.
And, like, you should have known, like, this is the culture that we're currently living in.
Mhm.
If this happens, we have to have a plan. And
Yes.
to come and say nothing, to me, just like caught us off guard, and it can't catch you off guard in 2020.
Right.
Yes.
Business, but the NBA is different.
So
Yes.
what about when all these players come out and they say all of the racist things that white people have said to them in the NBA? Because all of a sudden, if you find him just because they saw it on a TV screen, then all the other
Not
black players.
everybody, because
Hold on.
they all do
You're
it.
this
saying,
guy said this
hold
to
on.
me, this guy
You're
said
telling me
that.
that white players are calling black players names? Is that what you're saying? Because I highly doubt that's happening. I'm highly doubting that a white NBA player is saying to a black NBA player, "You bitch ass black boy." I highly doubt that's happening.
No, I'm not
That-
saying that, but I think they're saying
Words might not
inappropriate things,
happen.
though.
Racist things happen all the time. All the time. There's racist things happen all the time.
I just think that we got so desensitized, and we can just say the culture and make it okay. But I mean, we have to change the way that what both black people and white people say.
Right.
I agree. Like, to me, it's both sides, and I'm just very happy that he did apologize like the next day. Because, however,
He had no choice.
Pardon me?
He had no choice. Everyone was at his neck.
Yeah,
He had no
to
choice.
apologize.
He had to apologize.
Yeah, and plus, like, you know what? Like, look at the rising star. This guy is going to be future NBA leader. So I really, really think that, like, I'm hoping the NBA will definitely like add this, because I really think they were just shocked, and I think they just didn't know how to address this. But like you're saying, Jason, like they should have at least said, you know what, saying that is a fine. But then again, my thing is that not every player complained. Like Luka didn't tell anyone about the comment. Someone heard him say it to Luka. So
yeah, Luka actually came out and said that he didn't take it like disrespectful.
He didn't, because
they were just coming from the heat of the game. So I mean, that goes back to the culture, what Fun was talking about.
The culture, yeah.
So maybe because we're not in that atmosphere, to us it's like outside we're looking in, but to them it's just like he's cool with it. So I mean, it's hard for you to be mad about it when the two people involved are mad about it.
That's exactly what it is.
Let me ask you a question, Faheem. If he said bitch ass white guy, is that any different than bitch ass white boy?
Yes, to me it is.
Is it
As a grown man, don't call me no boy.
Okay, so
the boy.
So that's what the issue was. It's not.
It wasn't the white, it was the boy.
No, if he said bitch ass white guy, I would still think that's still offensive also.
Oh, okay.
I
So
would.
White boy's a different level though. That's real disrespectful. Somebody call
But
me
like-
boy.
but like, what about like White Man Can't Jump? So is that title like inappropriate? Like that was a movie by
To be
Spike
fair,
Lee.
they can. To be fair, they normally can.
No, but I'm saying though, like that movie was White Man Can't Jump. So like, you know what I'm saying? So to me, the term white isn't racist. I think bitch ass white boy. I think the entire sentence together is what made it
Racist.
very racist. But the term white by itself, no, bitch by itself, and boy is not. But I think all three put together. But it's hard because Luka didn't complain. I think if Luka said, "Yo," like I think if you complain about it to the NBA or complain about it to somebody, I think they would have done something. But Luka was like, whatever. Like, because honestly, Luka has played in leagues all over the world. This guy probably had heard way more worse stuff from other white people than he has from this guy.
Yeah,
Because
but I mean, for the most part, being white playing in Europe is a lot easier than being black playing in Europe. So I mean,
well, no, actually, he said it was harder in Europe. He said that it was hard to play in Europe. He actually met.
No, he said.
Yeah,
he said it's hard to play, but he meant by the level, like at the level.
racism, yeah.
Right, not in regards to race.
Yeah.
But, all right.
Oh, well, that was episode number 2.
Number 2.
Yes.
Nice. So let's just do some shout outs real quick. Nelly J, you shout outs on the way out.
Oh, I'll go after Funda and Jason because I don't know what I want to shout yet.
Jason, Funda, go ahead.
Can I give 2 shout outs?
Yeah, do your thing. Do your thing.
All right, so well, maybe 3. So I want to shout out the entire CEBL, and just give them respect for being able to have a successful COVID-free summer series. I want to shout out my boy Nate Mitchell, who's assistant coach with the Charlotte Hornets. Unfortunately, he's not in the bubble, but he's doing some really big things. And I want to shout out Devontae Graham too, because he's not really getting the respect he deserves as most improved player candidate, which is somebody who Nate works really close with. So I just want to shout out those three.
Yeah, to actually, Devontae, he was like the largest increase by any player that was nominated, and he never got it. So I'm with you with that.
I think CJ won it the year he was the largest increase, so it should have been the same bar. If CJ
Right.
Right.
All right, Jason, any shout outs?
Yeah, just two shout outs. I'm gonna shout out my boy Funda. He's doing big things. I mean, I'm always happy to see when your friends are winning in life.
Yeah.
So it's always good to see what he's doing. And I just shout out this podcast. I mean, it's refreshing to be on something like this, and you guys are doing very good. I love listening to your podcast. Nelly's also a character, and it was nice meeting Faheem. So I mean,
Nice.
I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
Nice.
Awesome. So okay, so I can go now. So I want to shout out our guests, Funda, Jason, for hopping on. Appreciate y'all. I know a lot of people, especially this week, what happened with Jacob, Blake. It was hard, but we appreciate you guys coming on and talking and really being candid about your opinions. This is all real talk, so we appreciate y'all. And I also want to shout out Jacob Blake's family. His sister actually made a comment today that really I wanted to kind of say in the podcast. So she said today, she's like, I'm not sad. I'm not sorry. I'm angry and I'm tired. I haven't cried one time. I stopped crying years ago. I am numb. I've been watching police murder people that look like me for years. So just want to, reach out to the Black community. I know it's traumatic. We got to keep pushing, and hopefully we can always stay unified as a community. And, all we can focus on is our kids, future, and trying to make it better for them, right? So just sending you guys love and support and hugs. So hopefully you guys can get through this difficult time.
Appreciate it.
Nice.
Faheem, your shout out, buddy.
That was deep. That was a tough act to follow right there. So I got my shout out is going to be Alphonso Davies. He's the left back for Bayern Munich. He was just on the team that won the Champions League, and he's Canadian from Vancouver. So I just want to shout him out. That's actually huge for Canadian soccer. Mm-hmm. And actually, I did find out that he signed a transfer from the Vancouver Whitecaps to go to Bayern Munich. And part of his, how you sign, you have a bonus. Since they won the Champions League, the bonus involved was the Vancouver Whitecaps get $500,000 that they can use to put back into their program. So I just want to shout out Alphonso Davies in regards to that. Big up.
Big up. Big up. Well, guys, thank you for entering the Good Rookies podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe down here. Subscribe to our YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We everywhere.
That's right. Don't be sure to click like and subscribe our video. And also be sure to check us out on all podcast platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcast app, anywhere you check for your podcast, or also on YouTube also. We're there also. So I guess we'll put this episode in the books. Episode number 2, Good Rookies Podcast, and we out.
Peace.
Later, guys.